life's a blast.
Summer vizzin, dashboarding fast.
Found a viz that spoke to me.
Found a chart neat as can be.
Summer viz is drifting away to the Tableau nights. Wella, wella, wella.
Show me more, show me more.
Did they use LODs?
Show me more, show me more, show me more. Did they master DZV? Doobie-doo-doobie-doo. Doobie-doobie-doobie-dow.
Chris joins the crew now, he's our guide.
New tug leader full of Tableau pride.
We'll ask the questions, hear his story.
Iron vizzin, visionary glory.
Summer viz is on display. But the Tableau nights. Wella, wella, wella.
Show me more, show me more.
How'd he get where he is?
Show me more, show me more, show me more.
What's his favorite viz?
Doobie-doo-doobie-doo, doobie-doobie-doobie. Dow-doobie-doobie-doobie-dow.
Nick brings bears into the mix.
Gendered words with clever tricks.
Parliament chart looks so slick.
What pronouns do animals pick?
Summer vizzes look cool every day, but the Tableau nights. Wella, wella, wella.
Show me more, show me
Are
more.
ducks usually a boy or girl?
Show me more, show me more, show me more. What do children's books have in store?
Shoo-bop, bop, shoo-bop, shoo-bop, bop.
Shoo-bop,
Shoo-bop, shoo-bop, bop. Yeah! Then Gbolahan takes the stage
with a showstopper of a landing page.
Shipments tracked from here to there.
Pixel perfect everywhere.
Summer vizzes light the way to the Tableau nights. Wella, wella, wella.
Show me more, show me more.
How'd he get that slick UI?
Show me more, show me more, show me more.
What new tricks did he try?
The summer heat is here to stay.
But cool analytics saved the day.
Log into Public and settle in.
Let's see the summer vision begin. Summer visits filling our screens, but those Tableau nights.
Show me more, show me more. Show me more, show me more. Show me more, show me more.
Show me more.
Show me more, show me,
Show me more.
show me more. Show me more.
Yay. I did not expect those Tableau nights.
Well, I hope you're all in the mood for some summer vizzin and a lot of Grease references coming your way, because this meeting is automatic, it's dynamic, it's datamatic. Why, it's Viz Lightning! And we will be meeting our T-Birds, that's Tableau birds, who are part of today's lineup in just a moment. But first, we do have some sad news to share from our Tableau Public TUG side. We do have to say goodbye to one of our pink ladies. Priyanka Dubal had some other commitments come up. Unfortunately, she needed to step away from the tug, and we just want to give her a huge thank you and let her know how grateful we are for everything she brought to this group, all of her energy and her leadership and commitment. We're really going to miss her on the team, and we wish her nothing but the best in her next adventures and endeavors. But with Priyanka's exit, we had an opening for a new crew member. So we got together and as a team decided that the one that we want is Chris Westlake. So we are happy to announce that Chris is joining the Tableau Public TUG. And as the newest member of our leadership team, we're going to be chatting with him in the community spotlight to get to know him better. Then look at me. It's Nick Pillsbury cruising into the garage, taking us under the hood of his Bears Will Be Boys Viz, which explores the gender pronouns of animals in popular children's books. And then finally, Gbolahan Adebayo, or GB, is going to be taking us through his shipment tracking dashboard, which is pure Viz lightning. And he's going to give us a look at the craftsmanship and expertise that went into building that. I promise I'm not going to sing, I don't think, anymore. But before we get into Summer Vision, let's meet the Rydell High School staff. That is the Tableau Public TUG team. So you have me, Lisa Trescott. I am joined by Agata Ketterick, Rob Taylor, and Eric Howard. Just a little bit more about each of us. So I work in higher ed. I'm a research analyst at Miracosta College. I've been using Tableau since 2017 and just immediately got obsessed with it. Since then, I've become an ambassador, visionary, Iron Viz winner back in 2021. I really love using Tableau Public to just flex creative muscles and just have fun and play with data. Here are some of my favorite Vizes from my portfolio. You can probably get a sense that I'm hopelessly devoted to having fun with data. Okay, over to Agata.
Hi, everyone. Agata Ketterick. I work at USA Today as a director of data strategy. Also learned Tableau back in 2017 and became kind of obsessed with making visualizations. I apparently love to make maps. Haven't made one in a while, so I need to get back into it. But I'm a Tableau ambassador and a TUG leader. All right, who's up next, Lisa?
Rob.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rob Taylor. I work for JLL on the Rolls-Royce account. We do all sorts of stuff with their building data. In my fun time, I love building stuff on Tableau Public. It's all about getting the creative flair out and building wacky, fun visualizations, games, trying to stretch what it can do. I'm a Tableau ambassador, and I've been using Tableau for about 10 years, but only really been fully involved with the community for about 5, and those years have been the best ones using Tableau to get to learn from everyone else. On to Eric.
Oh, he forgot to mention his Vizzy win this year, so congratulations, Rob. I'm Eric Howard. I work in healthcare here in the States for Vanderbilt Health. It's a university medical center. And I am acting as a AI evangelist, trying to get everyone to use AI at our place, which is surprisingly hard to do. But I presented this year at Tableau Conference on using AI as a Tableau site admin, which I help run our Tableau servers and all. So that's what I do. On to the next.
Yeah, before we get into everything today, we just want to make a plug that ambassador nominations and applications are open. Today is the last day. So if you are a procrastinator like me, who just did all of mine yesterday at like 4 o'clock, you still have time. You still have almost the entire rest of the day. So today at midnight Pacific time or 11:59 Pacific time, get your applications and nominations in. And just a reminder to apply. Just apply yourself. You never know. I know a lot of us have imposter syndrome and think, oh, I can't be an ambassador. Yes, you can. You're absolutely good enough. I always apply and then nominate all the people who have inspired you throughout your data fam journey. And thank you, Agata, for putting the link into the chat. Okay, I got chills. They're multiplying because we're about to get to know Chris Westlake. So Chris has had a love for data since childhood and a passion for data viz since discovering Tableau at university. He is a Tableau visionary, an ambassador. He won Iron Viz in 2024, and Chris loves to use his skills to foster collaboration and mentor others. He does this through co-leading the Scotland TUG and now the Tableau Public TUG, and regularly speaking at other events and through his blog, Westlake Analytics. So welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you so much for being here and for accepting our invitation to join this ragtag group. So thank you. So I guess first off, how and when did you start using Tableau, and kind of what background led you kind of to Tableau in the first place?
So, like you said, I've loved data since I was very young, probably far too young to really know what data was. I was kind of 9 when I started playing about with rugby statistics, and was basically making bar charts on pieces of paper. And when somebody suggested this could be a career, I was like, yeah, this would be great. Went to uni, did maths and stats, but bar charts are very different to R code and Python and stuff like that I was seeing at uni. So I took a year out and ended up working in the same team as Neil Richards, who's a Hall of Fame visionary now. He was a Zen master then. He told me about Tableau, and yeah, the rest is history, I guess.
Well, it's quite a history. So when did you start kind of using Tableau Public and publishing to there, and kind of what pushed you to hit publish that very first time?
So probably a year later, I kind of spent the whole of 2018 playing about with Tableau on my own, just trying different things, and sending your work out into the public is quite a big thing to do. So it was sort of mid 2019 when I did that. I was starting to think about jobs after uni, and yeah, just wanted to put myself out there, show some of what I was doing. I was really proud of kind of the progress that I'd seen in my own work behind the scenes, stuff that some people have never seen and will never see, because looking back now, it's atrocious. Yeah.
I mean, so we all start somewhere. I'm sure we all have some what we would consider atrocious business. I call them my trash boards. But how would you compare kind of your very first viz on Public to what you're doing now, and kind of that progress you've made?
It was cluttered, to say the least. I think the biggest thing that I learned quite early on was around white space. I very much approached visualizations and dashboards as if there's space, you have. And as a result, charts ended up getting like way smaller. I was just packing in as many things as I could into one sheet, and it was just very overwhelming. I think that's something I've improved on since then, and kind of incorporating white space to really make insights pop off the screen at you. Also kind of using data that I actually like and I'm interested in. I think like a lot of people around that time especially, I started off with Makeover Monday vizzes, so I think my first possibly 10 or even 20 visualizations on Public are Makeover Monday things, which are all probably roughly at the same sort of level, just because I found it hard to really spend more time on them because I wasn't that interested in the data. And it was only when somebody really pushed me to put out something a bit more personal, a bit more of my personality and likes and stuff, that I really saw more improvement in my skills.
Yeah. I definitely think you can always tell anyone's profile when they really love the data and the topic. Because I found the same thing with Makeover Mondays. I would see the data and be like, I don't care.
Completely. And then you spend an hour doing something.
Yeah, and you're just not
kind of all right.
Yeah. So if you could go back to when you first started using Tableau and Tableau Public, what's something you would tell past pre-Iron Viz, pre-Ambassador, pre-Visionary Chris?
I think probably asking people for feedback directly. I think the Tableau community is full of loads of people who are brilliant at Tableau, at data viz, and they're all super friendly and super keen to help. And I feel like I missed that. I'm very introverted, which me talking next to Lisa probably shows quite clearly. But yeah, just reaching out to people and being like, hey, can you give me feedback on this? What do you think? It's a much more direct and targeted approach. I think what I was doing is posting things on Twitter and being like, feedback welcome, which people just don't really see that very often, and it probably stunted a lot of my growth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I will say it's kind of terrifying to ask people for feedback too, especially when you're in the beginning. But It's absolutely
sure.
crucial. And just a plug for the Tableau community Slack. There is a Viz feedback channel on there. So if anyone is looking for feedback on their Vizes, that's a great place to do it. So how, you mentioned using Tableau Public to kind of, when you were starting to look for a job. So how has Tableau Public shaped your career?
In honestly so many ways. I wouldn't have my current job at JLL without Tableau Public. I think the connections that I've made through Tableau Public and the Tableau community have definitely put me in a really good place for that. And by sort of constantly sharing my work and demonstrating how I'm growing and improving, it kind of showed potential that I had before I'd really reached that point, which I think when I was fresh out of uni, had no work experience. I graduated in the middle of COVID, so there weren't many jobs going, especially for people who had no experience. It really helped kind of show that the potential was definitely there if somebody would just kind of take a chance on me. Not a grease song.
Well, since then, right, you've now earned pretty much every recognition in the Tableau community, right? Ambassador, Iron Viz Champ, Visionary, multiple Viz of the Days, Tug Leader, now twice over. There are literally no more badges left to earn on Tableau Public. So kind of what drove you to chase down all of those milestones?
Honestly, I'm not sure that kind of how that happened, or that I even believe that it did. I think Viz of the Day was always one that I really wanted to get. Kind of seeing that posted every day, and going to check it, see what had been chosen each day, and kind of getting this real excitement from doing that. I really wanted to see my work featured on there. It took a while. I think I had maybe 50 plus visitors on my public account. And I finally got one in January 2022, which was kind of a big win. But then you get one and you want another one, and I think I'm up to 9 or 10 now. I'm very competitive, so anything like that where you can kind of track how well you're doing and things really appeal to me, and I think that kind of feeds into Iron Viz as well.
Yeah.
Ambassador and Visionary is something that I think just kind of happens as you do more stuff around the community. It's not really something for me that I could go out and target. It was more, how do I have the most impact in these other things? And that kind of fits me into these buckets, I guess. Not that I feel like I fit into the Visionary bucket at all, but
I mean, I don't think the imposter syndrome is very real. I don't think any of us think that we're good enough for it. So welcome to the club. Okay, but one milestone we absolutely cannot ignore is your Iron Viz journey. So I would love to know more about that experience, kind of, because you applied or you submitted a couple of times before you made it to the stage. So can you tell us kind of, go through from submission from the very first time to the competition to ultimately winning it all?
Yeah. So I got into the final on my 5th entry.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, 5th.
Amazing.
So my first one was 2020, when there wasn't like a lot else going on in the world. So I decided I could spend a week or two just working on this. Looking back at it now, it was a very poor entry. But
it made it to the top 10?
On the button.
You said, but it made it to the top 10?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Okay, sorry.
Definitely not. It was a very static black and white viz about a topic that basically had no data. So it was never going to go anywhere, but I did it, I submitted it, and I was proud of it at the time. I then entered for a few more years before getting into the top 10. I did a viz, I think it was in the year where the topic was games. I did a viz on the rugby match that probably got me into data when I was about 9. And for me, that's kind of the secret that lies behind all of it. Kind of find something that you're really passionate about and find a way to just almost recycle that. And use it in any way that you can. So having gotten into the top 10, I kind of told myself that was going to be my last year entering, but I was like, I'm so close. Like, I finally understand that. And then, yeah, 2024 managed to get into the final with a viz about food, which, again, just taking something that I'm passionate about and spinning it into this. The final itself is the most insane experience that I've ever had. Kind of standing in front of that many people. I think there were maybe 7,000 or 8,000 in the room that year. Is just unreal. Like, you feel like a rock star, but using data, it's just not a situation that you ever feel like you should end up in, or that should even exist. But yeah, one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Yeah, it's very hard to explain Iron Viz to someone who's not part of the data fam. They're like, you were in a data competition? And you're like, yeah. It was so fun. Are there any like behind the scenes moments you can share from the finals and being on the stage and everything?
I think, right, I've tried to kind of talk people through like what the process is leading immediately up to the final a few times. And I think the sort of buzz and the stress and stuff right before you go out onto stage is really unmatched. It's such a great bonding time, and I feel like you really see so much more about everybody's personality in those moments. So there's a kind of dressing room space behind stage that has lots of drinks and snacks and sofas and stuff, and we were back there maybe 10-15 minutes before going out, and I looked around and realized that while I was munching my way through this whole tray of brownies, everybody else was standing in different corners of this room facing the corner, just like rehearsing their 3-minute pitch for their storytelling, or just kind of really getting themselves into the zone. And I just found it quite funny that my getting myself into the zone was brownies.
Well, the visit got you there was food too, so maybe that's the magic.
Completely. Far too food motivated.
Okay, well, switching gears, like I said, we are so lucky to have you on our team. What made you want to join the Tableau Public TUG team and say yes, and kind of what excites you about helping shape the future of this user group? I
love TUGs. I have always loved TUGs since I first went to a user group. That was 2019 when I was kind of first starting out with Tableau. I've been obviously leading the Scotland TUG for a few years, and I think I've learned so much through this, and I've met so many great people, and kind of facilitating a way for other people to have that same experience is just such a fantastic way to give back. And doing that with a global TUG just gives me a much bigger platform to do that for more people. And yeah, super excited to see the public TUG grow and hopefully get to new levels.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want people to kind of take away after each of our meetings that we should focus on?
I think keeping to try new things. I feel like when I was starting out, there were so many new kind of passion projects coming out that were just trying fairly unique takes on data visualization. There were probably too many radials at that point in time, but I'd love to see us kind of help drive people back to that space where we're just experimenting with data viz. It might not all be brilliant, but it will all be really fun. And yeah, I'd love to see more creativity around.
Yeah, have fun and try something new. I love that.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is our Greece-themed summer vizzin meeting. So we're going to do something that we don't normally do, which is a Viz lightning round, where I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions and you just super fast tell me your response. So are you ready for Viz lightning?
Oh dear, I didn't know this was coming.
You didn't know this was coming?
Did not know.
Oh, surprise. Okay, but this is really true, legit Viz lightning. Okay, what is your favorite chart type?
bar chart. That
Okay.
wasn't very lightning. I will do better.
That's okay. That's okay. We're warming up. Okay, best Tableau swag you've ever gotten.
Probably this little adapter thing that we got as Visionary swag recently, because it's just so fun.
It's not the same one, but I do have a Tableau Ambassador adapter right here. What is your favorite Tableau shortcut or hotkey?
Alt-AC, which I found out at TC in your session this year.
Oh, I was going to say, that's my favorite. Okay, what is one Tableau feature you couldn't live without?
Dynamic zone visibility or map layers. They're probably tied, I think.
Yeah.
The ability to do so much more than just have a kind of static page. Both of those enable in kind of different ways, and I just love that.
Yeah, I've got big expectations for chart layers. Just
yeah.
throwing that out there since you mentioned map layers. What does Alt-AC do, Rob? It brings up the calculated field window. Super fast. Really great to use in Iron Viz.
It's like the tooltip one, Alt-WO. If you're on a dashboard, you can edit your tooltip.
Alt-W, I'm going to write this down. Alt-WO. I've never used this. Okay, I'm going to try it today. Okay, tiled or floating?
Floating.
Floating. Okay, what is your dream data set? Realistic or not? Like if you could get your hands on any data in the world to visualize, what would it be?
Probably something rugby related, which is probably quite niche, quite boring for a lot of people on the call. But if I could get player stats, game stats for every professional game in history, that would be amazing.
We'll have to host our sports tug next time.
Completely.
I know nothing about rugby or sports. Okay, this is not part of the lightning round, but just to finish off, what is something that has nothing to do with Tableau that you want this group to know about you and your new leadership team?
I have recently started doing woodworking. So I inherited a whole load of woodworking tools from my grandfather a couple of years ago, and I've just kind of recently started using them. So I make lots of little boxes and bowls and pens and stuff, and it's super fun just as a way to get away from data, because you need that occasionally, away from a screen, and just do something that's very, very different but still quite creative.
Yeah, and you have like a tangible thing you can hold at the end.
Completely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I love to know that. Fun fact, one of my husband's friends is into woodworking, and he made us a super cool height chart. I know you have a little one, so maybe something to put on your project list, because it's
That
super
is a
cool.
great
He
idea.
loves measuring himself and stuff. So
That's such a good idea.
okay, well, welcome to the team. We're so excited to have you, and we are excited to see you every month from here on out at the Tableau Public TUG. Thanks for joining us today to get to know you better.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to throw it over to Agata and Nick.
All right. Thanks, Lisa. I get to introduce Nick today. So Nick Pillsbury has been a business intelligence engineer and has worked for Amazon, Outreach, Flex, and currently working for Webflow. Off hours, he is playing video or tabletop games with his wife, Catherine, or son, Oliver. And they have 3 cats, a dog, and also 3 yellow toads who just turned 1 recently. And are they all boys? Because according to your Viz, they should all be boys.
That is a good question. Good segue. They did just celebrate their first birthday with us, not counting tadpoles. And yes, actually, those toads and the frogs are actually a major reason why this board happened to begin
Nice.
with. I think we'll do a quick search. Brittany is in the chat. She sent me an article, which we will start looking at our Viz. And so this article was called Bears Will Be Boys. I stole the name. All good artists create, the best artists steal. And the article is linked up in here called Bears Will Be Boys. It's from a section called The Pudding, and they do a bunch of storytelling with data. And this one she sent to me specifically because, and we'll break this down later, there was a whole section on frogs in which they are, compared to all the other animals, more likely to be gendered as he, him. So that answers your question. That's why we got it. That's why the toads are relevant and how we got here today. Any other burning questions before I actually hop into this guy?
Not yet, but I did read this article today.
It's a really fun one. I also recommend their one on women's pockets. They have a great overlapping visual of different pocket sizes. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, and that is a different viz, because today it's Bears Will Be Boys. So Walsh and her team look at a bunch of really popular children's books from like the 1900s onward. And in here, they break it out into different sections. So they talk about like how they categorized it, all of the different books that they looked at, how they define gender. And obviously I was looking through it and I had a great time. Importantly, mostly because there were frogs. And I was like, well, great. Mine is also majority male. I have 2 boy yellow toads and 1 girl yellow toad. Her name is Patty. She is fantastic. And totally not the house favorite. But as you can see here, Frog assumed it was a gumdrop. He didn't like how it was tasted. And so things like that is how they catalog how we're doing pronouns in these books. And as I was reading through, I was like, okay, I see that most are being flagged as he, him. I see that birds lean more towards she, her. Like, okay, well, you know, it's kind of hard for me to really grok the whole picture because stories are great for reading through the analysis, but I wanted to really understand the data. And that's when I came across this piece. There's sort of like their bulk data section at the bottom. And so I'm scrolling through and I actually kept scrolling and I was like, where are the frogs? Because obviously I have a preference. But that's when I like, you know, had to scroll around. I was like, well, if only there was some way, Nick Pillsbury, that we could look at this data set easier and smaller and cleaner and crisper. So that is how we got to the viz. And the best thing is they provided all of their data down here. So I was actually able to download it and start playing with it. And one thing I'd been working on recently was I actually wanted to make really small charts. Because actually one thing Chris mentioned is like, oh, I was packing a ton of things in. And so like when we're doing our work, like, you know, at the thing that pays us money, we often like have like what? 15 bar charts, 6 tables, a bunch of lines showing those trends over time, because there's a lot of like nuance and context and all the dimensions everybody wants. And so like I always have to like force my work boards to fit on a screen if I can. But when you're doing Iron Viz, you typically do long form. And so I tried to recently do the opposite. I tried to make a board or at least a chart that was insightful fully by itself in like a 400 by 500 nook. And so that was what I wanted to do. So like, how can I take that data and put it into a 400 by 500 nook, you know, an index card? And obviously, as you can see, I failed. And that is because as I was looking at it, all of these like really useful like segments came up. So like if I wanted to know about, you know, let's say frog, I can see it right there. If I wanted to explore frogs over time, you know, really it only popped up in 1990s is when we had lady frogs. Apparently, that's when we invented them. So like, okay, well, which book was it? Like, okay, it was in Froggy Gets Dressed. Oh, okay, that's fun. And because I kept finding those quote unquote fun things, my 400 by 500 index card kept expanding because like, oh, like I really want to see all these things because the data is more fun when you can interact with it and it's more insightful. So I started with obviously bar charts. I started with line charts. I started with the generic stuff. I don't think that's why I got Viz of the Day. I think it's because of this little guy, you know, down here. And I did want to do something like this. I knew I wanted to try a Parliament chart, but I couldn't quite get it to fit. 1, because I didn't know how to make a Parliament chart. And 2, because it's actually quite data dense. So like all good things, you'll also find help from others. I actually got help here from the twins indirectly. So Kevin and Ken, they have this lovely tutorial on how to do a Parliament chart. And they walk through, like any good recipe blog, how the trip to Tuscany inspired them and why they now make pasta this way, and also how to do Parliament charts. So they walk through all the math, the trials of tribulation, and the part that really stuck out to me wasn't actually this part, but this little image right here, because it was almost one-to-one this template with exactly how my data was structured already. So all I actually did on my data set was crack it open in Excel, add a seat column, and be like, oh, okay, 1 through billion, just go in and add that, drag, drop down. And I had the exact template that I needed. And then I could go through and I could follow some of the math that we had used through here. So I took their template, I figured out how did this work, and we're gonna walk through that in just a little bit here. But again, the story of how we got here, great article from a friend. Frogs are cool. Boy, I wish I could see this data a little bit cleaner. Let's try something new. And so we did. And of course, like I said, help from our friends. And like all good dashboards, I include all of the references. I actually tagged Walsh and her team on my LinkedIn post when I did this, when I got Wizard of the Day. I was like, oh, like, hey, like, this is great. And it was really cool to have them like basically thank me after. I'm like, oh, like this looks great. That was really, really fun. So I found that actually a lot of research papers, and while the pudding does a great job of like doing good data visualization, research papers are often a great source of data that you can improve the graphing on. But anyway, enough about that. Let's hit edit. You should all be able to do edit. So like I said, the best artists steal. So feel free to rip and replace anything in my work, just as I would for yours, and give credit where credit is due. Let's see how we did this. So obviously, everybody here, unless this is your first day using Tableau, you can probably do a stack bar chart. Category, sum of count, percent of total. Same thing for down here, where I included the decades, the categories, and then this piece, I think, is a hidden hero here. This really fun little time lapse you're seeing over there is something that I actually use in my day-to-day work, and it is a very straightforward, I have some measure, seat. I could see this as maybe being my reps, by territory, my book of business, by account size. I could have it by number of users, by time since they last logged in. And in fact, I think if you're a Tableau admin, I think this type of viz is a default on some of the admin tools for like having stale content. So all it does is, it just like the stack bar chart, I use a bar, but every single bar is a unique record. So every seat, every animal group, every decade, colored by, in this case, pronoun, so that I can actually do that sort of interaction where if I hover over frogs, I can see where they're sitting in the parliament. If I hover over ducks, I can see the ducks. I can see anything from the 1950s. Okay, how did that fall out onto the parliament? And so I can see the clusters of different animals, because the way I did it is I grouped it so that like animal parties, or parties as I called them, were all together. Now, Parliament, I did follow a tutorial, and so you can see some of it in here. B, C, X, and Y, classic examples of proper theft. But it didn't work in some ways, because when you work with, we'll say, templatized data, and then you apply what we'll call like more real data, like research data or stuff you have at work, sometimes things don't fit. And so if we actually like crush my screen down, and then we set it to like the default template values, yeah, there you go. That's more like it. Obviously, not quite what we're going for. And so what we had to do is we had to experiment with things like, how many rows am I going to have? Rows being sort of like these unique arcs. How big are the circles going to be? How big is the radius? And those are all then parameters that you can control to dictate like, okay, like how do I want this visualized? Because where you put it is really going to matter, especially when you start dealing with really small data sets where like you really need to use the size to close out the padding. But let's talk about X and Y. X and Y while templatized. This is something you'll also see commonly in any of my other boards, because sometimes I have categories that I want to group into my nice clean buckets. So if I'm doing a normalized, let's say, small multiples chart, I might force it into a structure such that my small multiples are all stacked on top of each other or side by side. And so what this is doing is it's saying, hey, for every point, it has to have some x coordinate, and it has to have some y coordinate, like it's a map, which is also why I'm looking forward to chart layers, because I can't wait to layer more data on top of this. But in this case, our x is going to be based off of, actually, let's hop over to here. Do we explain this one in here really well? It does not break it down, but there's a link in the chat to it, so do give it a read. So our x is going to be based on a couple things. Obviously, in our case, boop, we go to x. You're going to see that it is going to be based on the angle in radians and the radius. If you are not a mathematician, like I am not, a radian in this case is basically going to be sort of a standardized measurement that basically is like, okay, if I have a circle, or in our case, a half circle, if I multiply the radian by some fixed number, I'm going to get the angle, right? And in this case, the radius is going to be how far out. So as you can obviously guess, as stronger mathematicians than me, our radius is going to be based on how many rows do we want to have, and then sort of the order of seats. So if I have 2 rows, my radius is going to be a lot smaller, right? Because I only need to go out 2 rows, 1 row to row 1 distance and 1 to row 2. If I have 16 rows, I'm going to have a lot wider range of that radius, because I have to place it somewhere between here and all the way up here. We won't go too deep into the math because I would like people to stay awake for some of this. But when we follow through it, we end up with this section, and you can actually see some weird math playing out here if you look really close. You'll notice these aren't straight lines. And again, that's because it's doing all of that angled math to try and get it perfectly spaced. This thing was very fudgeable. So I actually expanded on my inner radius. So let's set this to 0.5. Because what I wanted to do was I wanted to recoup this white space to have a call out. Because when I just have a call out at the top, that's not very helpful. Like, it's not fun. It's not clear in some ways. So 1.5 ended up being about the right amount of space that I wanted to have this call to action that says, hey, do this. Because one professional tip I would say is you should never trust your end users to know how to do anything, especially if they're data experts. You should always tell them how to do things and what to do and when. So I have this call out here to specifically say, like, hey, I've embedded data into here. So if I want to know who's this dot and where is it from, maybe I can be like, oh man, Blueberries for Saul was my favorite childhood book from the 1920s, as we all read. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa gets it. But a couple things that also stood out when I was working on it, like I said before, let's duplicate this real quick. My goal was originally to have something that looked like this guy, or maybe 500 by 400. And as you can see, not quite what we were going for. And that is really the source of my own personal failure here. Is I really wanted to have this be the single show point, but I just couldn't get all of the data density in. It looked like somebody flicked paint off 2 paintbrushes onto the page. So unfortunately, data density and storytelling won out again over brevity. All right, so that is how we got here. That is sort of the math, a little brief intro into the math without going too line by line on how we got into this. Some of the trials and tribulations that went into it. Other insights that came out that I wasn't expecting. I honestly expected to have a much more clear trend of more she, her pronouns appearing in books. I also expected things like, oh, perhaps more she, hers will spread out over time. But like if we look at bears, like in fact, it was sort of the opposite. Like if it weren't for the Bernstein Bears, or Bernstein Bears, depending on which side of the prophecy you believe. I expected like, oh, like we would get more 50-50 as time went on, but we didn't. Bears were just even more likely to become he, hims. Birds, almost always she, hers. In fact, again, more recently, they just take up the whole slot. And then, you know, again, like I said, like being able to click through things was really, really insightful. So if we even just like go back, I can sort of quickly then see like, okay, who is this sort of racehorse of more and more he, him as we go back through time. It was also one interesting thing was I didn't see a lot of they, them, it, us, we's. And so the they, them, it, us, we's was like a really small point in time in the 70s. And it really just sort of condensed around just a handful of books. So I'm pretty sure, yes, The Grouchy Ladybug was just the clear runaway favorite. That's it. That's the only childhood's book where we don't gender our animals, apparently.
So the ladybug wasn't genderized?
I think the ladybug was the only one. I would need to confirm.
Wow.
And you know what? We can do that live, because why not? Right? Because that's what we do here. Animal. Get rid of all. Ladybug. Ladybug. Ladybug, he, him. Or it, they. Sorry. The only other ladybugs were all she, hers. So
like
the only
obvious.
book that did it, yeah. Yep. But that's why we play with data. So one other methodology, I guess, note that I called out here was one thing that I didn't like in the original Parliament chart was how messy this was at the bottom. So here you can see our 4 ladybugs. But, you know, I have 1 jellyfish, I have 1 jaguar, and I'm a simple person. Tortoise and turtle. Sorry, team, you're going together. So I did group a couple likes with likes. I think I grouped a bunch into, was it bugs? No, I didn't. Spiders, I definitely grouped. Rabbits, I think I grouped a couple in. Dinosaurs, I grouped in. Birds, I think I included a few extra, like ostrich, emu. But the others were like all those extra ones that like, okay, like I don't have a group for rhinos, all 2 of them. You're going together with the 1 aardvark, and you're all going to be the other party in this case. But yeah, that's how we did it. I will open. We do have the very hungry caterpillar. It can't be too hard to find. Goodreads link, decade cover, animal. Thank you, Rob. That's actually animal. Caterpillar. You can see on the left here my animal supergroups and the multiple iterations of it I went through trying to find them. Caterpillar was he, himmed. Apparently it came from the 1960s as well. All right, but I'll open the floor for questions. Is there any burning questions you have for me, Toads, the Animal Parliament, which I apparently had named the Animal Pronoun Element, which, you know, kudos to me there.
Do you got some good dad jokes?
According to my son, no. I have no good dad jokes.
Just that, the love of the pun there got me thinking.
Thank you.
You must.
I try. It's all trial and error.
Well, this is awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Oh,
You need a dad joke database, apparently.
There is a dad joke, I think, Viz of the Day, that made it, and I did favorite it as a call out. So if you look at my favorites, I think, on my profile, you will see a dad jokes dashboard. Yep, there it is.
I'm going to
All
check
right.
that one.
There we go. When we did it, we'll never have problems again. Thank you. Let me know if you need anything.
Thanks, Nick. That was awesome. All right, let's give away some swag. Here we go. Everybody in attendance, do a quick spin of the dial. And we give away a $50 gift certificate to the Tableau store, so you can buy whatever you like. And it looks like Tyler Barnes is our winner of the day. So Tyler, I will DM you here in a minute, and then we will get your email address is what I need to set you up. So congrats, Tyler. All right, Rob and GB, are you ready to go?
Thanks, Eric. Congrats to Tyler. I did tweak my intro a little bit after Lisa's song, so it's now show me more, I hear you all shouting. So put down those milkshakes and get back to your seats at Rydell High, because the next visit of the day author is hotter than grease lightning. So our leading man tonight is Gbolahan Adebayo, or GB he goes by as well. He's a senior data analyst at Sanlam FinTech, and he's the co-leader of the Lagos TUG. And my son liked this as well. He's a very proud Man City fan. So yeah, up the city. So his Tableau Public resume is slicker than Danny Zuko's hair. He's a 2 times Tableau Visionary. He's a 3 times Tableau Public Ambassador. He's got 62 visits on his public profile and over 3,000 followers. So if you're not one of them, make sure you go and follow him. He's also got 7 visits of the days. He's 2 vizies. He got the biggest growth in 2023 and notable newbie in 2022. But today he's bringing us his shipment tracking dashboard. So if you want to learn the technical magic required to transform complex logistics data into actionable, user-friendly tool, then follow along and let's hear from GB about his cool viz.
Thank you, Rob. Such lovely introduction. I'm just going to try to share my screen. Okay, good. Yeah, okay. So hi everyone. Like Rob introduced me, I'm Gbolahan Adebayo, and I'm basically going to talk through designing ship hosts, which is basically a shipment tracking dashboard built in Tableau by myself and a friend, Michael. But I'm going to be presenting the stuff what we both worked on. So, okay. I think Rob already did most of the intros. I currently work at Sanlam FinTech as a senior data analyst. Fun things about me, I found Tableau, or like data visualization itself, through the Football Manager Data Hub. I'm a huge Manchester City supporter. I love to listen to house music. And then I have a little dog named Vizzy, after the Vizzis. And this dashboard is built in collaboration with Michael. So this was the moment, August 7, 2025, when we got to be announced, like the viz got to be announced and featured as Tableau Public Viz of the Day. And across both of our pages, it has picked up over 96 favorites and over 11,000 views. So it's a nice proof that people connect with it. And the message from Tableau Public when it was shared was, it's a clear and interactive way to monitor your logistics. And I would try to go through why we also think so. So today's routes, basically, first is inspiration. I'm going to show some of the inspirations we got to build the dash. Also talk a bit about like the data gathering and modeling that we did. Also the story design and what informed it. Show the interactivity design and some of the things that we try to make work in the dashboard by trying to like basically break down some of the different pages and basically showing the ideas and calculations behind that, and also like the special wow with the make points and animation used. Okay, so in terms of the inspiration map, the dashboard has 3 pages, 3 to 4 pages, and then each of the page was inspired by something very different. So this inspired the landing page. We took this from Pinterest, I believe. This was more of a landing page for a website, and we thought it had the feel of what we wanted to build. And then we had the landing page for the visual itself, like the executive overview page, and we felt this also had that bit of magic that we could take from it. And this informed the map and package list, the tracking view, This was for the truck view page, both pages, and we took some of the images of the trucks from Google. So you could just pay attention to some of this and sort of like keep it in your head. So when we get to show the dashboard, you sort of see the relationships and how we're able to take different bits from it. Yeah, so welcome to the shipment tracking dashboard. Let me just, before I go. So for the dashboard, we had three main rules. One, we wanted a very lovely UI. We wanted to build a business dashboard that was very, very interactive and looked very good on the fly. And we wanted one system of a full shipment and logistics flow with 4 different views that had different views to go through. And we really wanted a lot of interaction on the dashboard, so a lot of clicks and selectors, not just filters. So for the data model, we used 3 tables, basically, dim shipment, fat trucks, and dim tracking. And then we also added one more to it because we had an idea in our head and this didn't exactly fit it. But this entire data was built synthetically using ChatGPT. So now to the dashboard itself, there are 4 views. We have the landing page, the shipments page, the tracking page, and the truck page. And each page is supposed to give you a different direction as to how to interact with the whole dashboard in view. And before I go into the dashboard itself, we had 4 dashboards, 42 worksheets, 176 calculated fields, 11 parameters and 14 parameter actions, lots of highlight actions, 3 tables, lots of invisible selectors, and yeah, the shipment records for a full year of 2025. Yeah, let me just go to the dashboard then. Okay. So here it is. So here's the dashboard. And if you remember, this was very, very well inspired by the landing page view that I shared earlier in the slide in terms of like what we wanted the dashboard to look and feel like. So the underlying background here is from Figma, but then we floated some charts here to like have this, highlights in real life, so you can be able to over-announce this chart feel into it. So we try to show the shipment view, a quick overview of that, tracking view, and the truck view. And then basically you have like these 3 buttons. Each of these buttons basically is a navigation, and then in order to make it look different, we used what we called like a blank Unicode character. So basically, if you put a blank Unicode character in your navigation, you can make it look transparent and it can float over the underlying image, basically. So that's what we did, so that each of these 3 views would direct you to the different pages. And now to the shipment view. So basically, for the first view, we wanted the shipment view to be like a pulse of the shipment activity. So we wanted it to be like that first page that you go to basically have an understanding of what was happening across the entire shipment operations. So the entire dashboard design, like I said, was inspired. I'll probably go to the inspirations again towards the end, but then you can see like we listed like all the different pages that you'd go to, and all these different icons were taken from Flaticon, and we also had like the Figma overlay background. Now to the KPIs at the top, we wanted to build like a full KPI view without having to build individual sheets for each of them. So because we wanted to share about 8 KPIs, and then like initially, want to have like each sheet for that. So what we did was to use aggregate values to do that. So basically, what that means was we wanted to find a way to combine the shapes and some of the metrics together in a single view, so that we can keep things like very simple on one sheet and easy to work with. So basically, what I mean is with the aggregate view, you basically have like the mean, and this mean basically you put in like a number and you sort of define the range. So for this, we used -1.0 to -0.9, but like, and then we dual axes. But basically that means like you can adjust the axis, or you can leave it at automatic, so that anywhere that you select for the first peel and the second peel, we basically dictate where that particular value or shape or whatever it is would be. So basically that means if I change this to minus 1.5, for example, that would just slightly move things. But because this is automatic, it's basically keeping it. But if you define, for example, if you have 0.5 here and you define the axis from 0 to 1, then you would have like that particular mark staying right there in the middle. And also one good trick that we also used for our colors for the year over year, or like for the comparison, was rather than writing an if else statement to give you different values for the color, we used the sign operator. So with the sign operator, basically it just lets you define two values of 0 and 1, or 0 and 1 basically, and then you can attach different colors to that. So you can see that we can give 0 a color and 1 a color, and then that saves us the stress of writing like if else calculations to get the color for the metrics. And then something also that was super interesting that we also did in the shipment overview was to sort of create this highlights where you can see whatever filter, like whatever truck selector that you're making. We used a parameter for this and added like an option for the all. But to be able to create this sort of feeling, what we did was to write a calculation basically that would check if the truck ID that we have in the data is equals to the parameter that we've created for the trucks. And if it is, then it would return this Unicode character, and if not, it will return a blank space. And then just putting it in front of this truck and coloring it red created like that UI feeling that you can see exactly what is being selected in the view. So basically, most of what you see on the shipments view is a mix of using the aggregate values to hold places and to hold selections, especially if you look at the table that we also built, lots of aggregate values to keep spaces and be able to make things align. And also using like the sign function as well to return like two values, and just trying to play around with how we highlight things with some of this trick with the triangle. And I think as Chris also mentioned, we try to make sure like there's a lot of white space in the dashboard, even though we try to incorporate lots of colors, but to still make it super easy and lovely to view. And for the next view, which is the tracking view and is my favorite, the idea of the tracking view was for us to display basically an overview of the shipment tracking and to give the user that feel where you basically see, like for a particular truck, you basically see like their most recent orders and their most recent packages. And then you can make a click or a selection, and basically the map updates to show you like the movements of that particular truck over several locations. So initially, when we created our data sets, we had the truck data set, the shipments, and the last one, which I can't remember. But then one thing that we had to figure out initially was we created the trucks to move from one place to the other. But then while we were trying to build this, we realized that we wouldn't be able to give that effect or that real life effect of a truck having to probably take several stops and could probably have like 2 or 3 or 4 stops. And so basically we had to handwrite or break down things in a way that would be able to show how a truck might move in real life. So that made us create this table called Tracking 2, which I would show what that looks like. So this Tracking 2 table was just us trying to think about how we can sort of break out how it, like, a shipment would move in real life if it's being delivered or if it's in transit. So we created a field called where is it now? Yeah, the stop sequence tracking. So basically, for every shipment that you see, for every shipment ID or every tracking ID, I can just like take this to be close so that okay, yeah. So basically, for every tracking ID, you can see that we created like a stop sequence. So basically, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 for this particular tracking ID, and this 4, and someone's 3, someone's 4, someone's 3. So we can be able to like take that idea and use it for the map view, which I would show how we got to build that. But starting from the left side first, we wanted a landing page view of the most like recent or the first or the last delivered package that was built. So we had to create this view where this in itself is a worksheet that is built off using like aggregate values, like I mentioned. So we could sort of choose the position of where this highlights would, where this information would be on the left-hand side and where this information would be on the right-hand side. And basically, if you look at this, you would see like we have like mean 2.0 and the entire axis is from 0 to 2. And so basically, that means like 1.7, we could put it at the particular place that we wanted to put it, and then the other one could put it at the other place. Because if I sort of play around with this and probably choose like a 1.3, you would see like it moves like closer to the left, and then 1.7 pushes it closer to the right. So basically, what this means is like with this, you can basically select how you want things to move across, right? So because this is meant for this button, so two views basically. So if I change this from dual axis and remove this, yeah. So you basically see that we have the first bit. This is occupying from 0 to 2, and then you can see where this is at. And then for the other bits, which is occupying like automatic. So if we make this a dual axis instead, then you would see like how that's like brings the two of them to combine together, sort of created, but I probably like I've brought in major names, so I'll just like reverse this a bit. Okay. All right, so we wanted to combine that, and this is like a static container to just highlight the most recent one. So we just basically wrote a filter that would highlight the most recent one, or the latest tracking dates to be true, and then have that combining different sheets for that, and then at the top just one more. So basically, this is just to create that illusion that you have like different packages that are being moved, and then this is the most recently completed. This is fed with a container basically, and you can see like it's colored red for that highlight, and the rest just a list. So how did we then make this feel in terms of like you basically clicking a package shipment and having this adjust? So this was done with smart players, and what I would do is to basically turn off everything and explain how we got to the final point. Okay, so we already have the geographical location in our data set, so that like informed the longitude and latitude on the columns and the rows, which brought out this view that we have. And so the first bit that had to be done was making sure like there is a line between the start point and the end point of the shipment. So that is what informed this collect tracking. So this collect tracking route is just basically us determining like with make point and make line the exact routes that we wanted it to be. So if I just open this tracking route calculation, yeah, basically. So what we have was we had 2 points, the start point and the end point. So basically we have the make points, which basically creates a point in the particular location where we have like the starting latitude and the starting longitude. So it selects the start point, and then we have the other points, which is going to be for the end latitude and the end longitude, which is the end point. And basically to connect both points together, then we just use like the make line function, which would basically just bring those two together. So if I uncheck this, you would see that we have this first point and the last point, basically. And then so that it shows that full movement, we then added the tracking ID to the detail so that you can be able to see like, okay, this is moving from one point to the other. Because if I remove that, okay, yeah. So that shows like the tracking routes, which is the line. And then the next bit that we wanted to add to it was to show the points. So basically for each of the different points that the shipments was taking. And for that, what we did was to create the calculation to link opening current point. Okay, so for that, what we did was to create a calculation to basically take the end point, right? Because if you think about it, if this is the starting point, that means this next point, which is the end point, is basically going to be for the next movement that it takes, right? So this is going to be the end point for this one, and this is going to be the end point for the one preceding, and that way. So basically, we just created this calculation, or like this calculation for the map layer, which is going to basically just look at the make points and then take each point for the ending position of that particular shipment, and which is what you see. And then next, we then wanted to highlight the first bit, which was the endpoint. And so for that, it's still the same logic. We basically just wrote a make point, okay, last current point. Okay, so basically for this, we just wanted to highlight the last current points that you have in the view. So basically what we wrote was, we created a stop sequence already for each shipment. So like 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we basically just said like, if that particular, like stop sequence that particular shipment is at, if it's equals to the max of it, then basically just return the current points, which is basically what lets us see like, okay, this is where it started from. And then same thing we did for the other points, which is like the end point, basically. So you can see this point for the starting point and these other points for the end point. And then for it to have that feeling of when you make a selection, this is entirely driven by a parameter selection that is driving like this view, because we already have the shipment ID driving the true or false calculation that you'd see here as the test. Okay, so you can, like you would see, like it's already driving it in terms of like the parameter selection. But to give you that feeling of something moving and zooming in and zooming out, we used animations basically. So we just we made use of animations and we selected the duration. So like the style was like a sequential style, so that when you select the point, it zooms in and it gives like that feeling of moving from one point to the other, which sort of like elevated the feel and the view, the feel of the view basically. And then just below that, we wanted to highlight, so whatever shipment you select, for you to just basically see more information about that shipment, we just created each shipment ID information. And then basically below that, you can see where that shipment is coming from and where it's moving to, and then the current location of that shipment, last stop, and how many kilometers left. And for the final view, we wanted to give a feel of the truck operation view, where you are able to see like a list of the different trucks. And also similarly to what we are trying to do in the first video, you basically get to see all the trucks that is being used in the operation, and click on any of them and basically have this pop-out view that then tells you about that truck in full. So lets you know like the model, the license number, the GPS, all of that, and then also lets you know like how that shipment has moved on its own. So for this, what you have here is you basically have 6 truck worksheets connected, like built in a container on their own. And then on top of that, we created truck selector sheets, which are basically floated on each of them. So it gives you that feeling of when you click on it, it's it switches and it like basically informs the parameter to switch. So for each of these trucks, we also created like the map layer view. I'm probably just going to quickly talk about this particular line, because for this one, what we wanted to do was to basically take a truck and then show you the movement of how that truck moves. And so for the position of this particular line, to give you that understanding of what we did, if I just uncheck each of this latitude and longitude, you basically see that we created a fixed point and a start point and an end point for each of the line. A lot of this was also like trial and error, like trying to figure out like the best position to put it. But then as soon as we figured out like, okay, fine, we like this position for the line, what we did then was to basically have the make points, and because this axis is done in negative value, so basically take the stop sequence. So you basically look at, okay, for this truck, what's the stop sequence? And the stop sequence is related to where the particular truck was last positioned. And so basically take like the stop sequence, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4. And so this is the latitude side. So this is where it's going to stay on the rows, and this is the longitude side on the column. So if we look at it, this is like make points between this point and 2. So 2, which is like the longitude side, you would see like it's staying directly on top of 2, and then for the other side is staying here. And then we then put the tracking dates to the path, so it can then start from the highest and move to the lowest. And then for that max, it will probably just start from because we have -1, like because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 stops, or 3 or 4 stops depending. Then you cannot have like -1 for the first stop, -2, -3, and depending on the number of stops, right? So because this person has 3 stops, so you can see like it's just basically linked it up in that way. So -1, -2, -3 for that stop. And so basically we just did that, and each of the different positions of the trucks and this information is driven by like different geometric points that we made with the make points view, and that's basically repeated across all the different trucks that you have. And then for the floating view that we floated on each of the trucks, so like gives you that selection, all we have there is just basically like a shape, and then we have in the shape we have a calculation checking if the truck ID is the selected one for that particular one, and then the highlights calculations for the highlights. And so basically that just means that each of this is driven by a parameter action that they will just check. So you can imagine we had like several parameter actions for each of the sheets. So if I go to okay, I think this is one. Yeah, so this is for the first truck. So you can see like truck 1, select 1. So you basically see the parameter, like the worksheet containing like the overlay, and then the target parameter being the truck ID, and then the source field being what we had written into the detail. And so basically each of them just basically drives it. So it gives you that feeling of when you select on a truck, then it's basically updates to that truck, and then you can see the information of that truck right there. So just moving back to my slide, I'm trying to finish up. The one thing we had to change in our data was the routes, because the AI generated route was teleporting between like one shipment being north and then moving south, and then we had to do a lot of like handwritten work there. So sometimes it shows like AI can generate data fast, but you still need to like think about how you could make that data look realistic and fit what it would look like in like normal real life scenarios and circumstances. Yeah, so just running through this as I already went through. So finishing up with what worked. So basically still like an artist, borrow style, color, and direction for wherever inspires you. We took a lot of different little bits from different little inspirations, and we also had like the inspiration board as the source of truths. And then we tried to make sure like each worksheet is a UI component. So between buttons, cards, and canvases, using sign for a period over period colors makes it faster for you to do without having to write like a calculation for nested ifs, and parameter actions over filters when you want the click to feel like a button. And then we had some lessons for next time. If we were going to create this next time, we'll probably pay more attention to the synthetic data and make sure like we thought about how it relates to real life. And then for performance and making sure like the containers and the sheets are named directly from day one, because at the end of the entire project, it became quite stressful to name each and every one of them. So that's something we'd have done. But yeah, the workbook is public, so you can always go to it and like dissect it and take a better look at it. But yeah, thank you. Any questions?
That was brilliant, Jimmy. Thank you very much. I think Lisa said it in the chat as well, but it's blown my mind how many sheets and how much detail you've both put into that. All the little touches for the UI to make it almost look like, you say, like an app or something is fantastic. Out of interest, how long did it take you both to make it? How long do you spend on it?
I think about 2 months-ish, because yeah, it was it's a collab, so between work and trying to find like a best space for it, yeah, it did take about 2 months. But I think the tricky part was we had the idea and we had like a strong vision of what we wanted to do, but the data was like quite stressful because we needed to think about how to make each point like a different stop and try to link everything together. But yeah, 2 months. But I mean, who counts when it's fun?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of collabs. So yeah, have you got any tips for anyone who wants to reach out to someone for a collab, or any thoughts, things you learned from working with someone else?
Yeah, personally, yes, a lot. A lot of the technical work for what was done by like my friend. So personally, I had the idea, like I really like to use a lot of design and colors and feel in my work. And so basically it was about finding each other's strengths. So he told me he doesn't know how to think about colors or like make things look really nice. But if I have a strong idea, then we could look through how we could build it technically in Tableau. And so basically I did a lot of work about like, the inspiration and trying to look for like these colors and icons and all. And then it focused more on trying to think about how we could technically make it make sense in Tableau. So yeah, it's just about finding like, your strengths, your weaknesses, and meeting in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. And then you both learn from each other as well, don't you? So it's great. Nick has asked a question. He says, were there issues with the synthetic data skew? In the past, we've had some synthetic data for internal data contests and the insights were bland. So yeah, were there any issues with synthetic data?
Yeah, lots of issues. We had lots of issues. We initially thought, we just gave it the prompt and told it what we're trying to build, and because there was not so much context, it just threw out like different tables and all. And I think it was while building it that we discovered that there is still so much work to be done, and some of these points don't make sense. This thing cannot be like this in real life. A truck cannot move like this in real life. Cannot move from here. Yeah, exactly. So we had to start thinking about how to reprompt it over and over again. But yeah, that's quite tricky.
It's the new world we live in. You can get stuff quickly, but it doesn't always mean it's right, does it? And yeah, sometimes you take longer trying to get the prompt right, and you could have just created something yourself, couldn't you? But no, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you for walking us through that. And yeah, impressive the amount of detail in it. Well done.
Yeah, I cannot get over the level of detail. I put it in the chat, but I feel like it's more detail than I put in my work dashboards for my job. Maybe I'm just bad at my job. It is so impressive. So thank you for sharing all behind the scenes with it.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you to all of our presenters today, Chris and Nick and GB. We are so thankful that you all were here and showed us some amazing presentations from your visit the day. We hope you all will join us next month, August 20th, same time, same place, where we are going to be highlighting the Rising Star initiative in Tableau. So this is an initiative that Adam Miko started. So he's going to be in our community spotlight. It is a project that highlights folks who have in the data fam who have not reached ambassador or visionary status, but are clearly on their way. So it's a really great project. And we'll be focusing on 2 visit the days from 2 folks who have been part of one of those cohorts. So we'll look at Ollie Ross Russell's golf visit of the day, and then Roche Khan's gym tracking visit of the day. So those have been great. Also, just a little plug. Let me find the link to this. If you have not put in your nominations yet for ambassadors and you're looking for people to nominate, the Rising Star Initiative and that cohort is a really great place to find folks to honor. So we hope to see you in August. And why can't I advance this line? Yes. Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. And I promise I will not sing next time. If you're lucky.
Thanks, everyone.
Tell me more.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.